Alright, so I just got done watching the Punisher special titled The Punisher One Last Kill. And first, I like the Jon Bernthal's version of Punisher, but here's the thing. I've been watching him from the Daredevil days and the Daredevil Born Again, and now the Punisher One Last Kill. And throughout all of these three projects, I have found some kind of a pattern with Jon Bernthal's version of the Punisher. And then I watched the trailer for Punisher One Last Kill, and from the trailer I knew that it was gonna delve into the same plotline, the same storyline that Punisher has been doing for this couple of years, like 8 years. Ever since Jon Bernthal got his own, series of Punisher, for 2 seasons. The main point of those 2 seasons was also to ground Punisher, What I mean by that is just to understand his motivation, why he's doing this sort of killings and all that. And it pretty much tried to humanize him. And there's nothing different with the special. One Last Kill, at least this is a 44-minute special of Punisher doing some crazy killings. Yeah, but that was the second half of the special. The first half of the special is really traumatic. It was very miserable to watch for you as an audience, and also for the character of Punisher, Frank Castle. Because the main point of this special was for Punisher to find another reason to be Punisher, because he still has PTSD about the murder of his family and he can't escape that, You got a glimpse of that in Daredevil Born Again when he has this talk with Matt Murdock, right? But in this special, he really dives deep into PTSD madness. And in one scene, the graveyard scene, if you have seen the Punisher special, you know which scene I'm talking about. In which Punisher, Frank Castle, tries to kill himself, tries to shoot himself in the head. And this is the main problem of the characterization of Jon Bernthal's Punisher. Not only in the special, but in everything that he's been in as Punisher. And that is that his version of the character cannot escape the trauma at all. Because when you think about it, we have been through this since the first season of the Punisher, right? The second season. And a little bit of that in Born Again. And now we got to redo that again, repeat the same storyline in Punisher One Last Kill, finding the meaning to be Punisher. Now that pisses me off, because you know what? We all know the Punisher's origin story, and you don't have to repeat that storyline over the years, man. Because if you've read the comics, alright, Punisher has been going through a lot of crazy shit. And that one comic where he teams up with Daredevil and Spider-Man to beat up the Hand. Because Punisher, as a basic character, he has a lot of storylines that hasn't been explored before. And that is the main problem that I want Jon Bernthal's Punisher to move on. Just skip the PTSD bullshit. Alright, I know it is essential, important for the character to go through, but we went there before a couple of times, so enough of that. And he's gonna show up in Spider-Man Brand New Day, right? And the tone of his character is gonna be different. That excites me, but also that worries me, because the Spider-Man movie is gonna be PG-13, right? And I honestly don't know how Frank Castle, the Punisher, would work in a PG-13 movie. I really hope that they still maintain a little bit of that, action-packed, intense nature of the character without showing a lot of the gore. That's fine by me. But what worries me the most is that what is his next step after Spider-Man Brand New Day. Alright? Because, yeah, by the end of the special, he has a purpose, a new purpose, to become the Punisher again. And I just don't want this plotline to be, revisited again forever. Because at this point, just let him be the Punisher that we know and love from the comics. Let him be fully committed to that role, because that was the very basic reason that this special existed. Now, is this existence of the special really justified? Well, if you think deep enough, it's not really that important. It's not really that necessary for the special to exist, really. Because in the end of Daredevil Born Again, he is already Punisher. He's pretty much committed to it. He has gone past the trauma. But when you have the special, which could clearly be about something else, you choose to repeat the same storyline. And it's really redundant at this point. I don't want it to be revisited again, because Punisher has a lot of stories that are cool, that are maybe like a little bit more exciting than diving on his psychology, his PTSD aspect. Think of the definitive Punisher for me is Ray Stevenson and Thomas James. These two actors portrayed Punisher really well. I love John Bernthal's version of the Punisher also, when he is not focused on the PTSD aspect. Because John Bernthal's Punisher is cool, right? But oftentimes when he has his own story, he always goes back into the PTSD bullshit. Let's be real, man. Because Punisher, up until this point, has been a very stagnant character, and the MCU doesn't really know how to handle a character like Frank Castle, aka the Punisher. Just put him in, a Daredevil team-up film with Spider-Man and Daredevil, and it would be insane, right? Just put him in the Midnight Sun storyline. It's gonna be supernatural. It's gonna be new, fresh. That's the thing that I wanted to see from Punisher from here. Alright? Just let him be the tactical, calculated character. So, my hope for the Punisher post Brand New Day is to at least move past from the PTSD aspect. Yes, going back into the special itself, it contains a lot of cool action sequences in the final 15 minutes, and for a special that's 44 minutes long, you wasted that time to revisit his PTSD, his flashbacks about his family. We've had enough of that. So yeah, when you're looking for some Punisher action, yes, the final 15 minutes has some of the craziest action sequences coming from Punisher that I've ever seen up until this point. But in that specific climactic sequence, that 15-minute sequence, there is a very bad CGI shot where Punisher, Frank Castle, jumps from a rooftop, falls from a rooftop, and it really looks wonky. The CGI here looks like a PS2 version of a Punisher game or something like that. It looks like the miniature of Joel Miller from The Last of Us, but in the PS2 version. If you've seen it, you know which scene I'm talking about. It's going viral. So yes, Punisher One Last Kill, it is kind of a soft reboot for the character. I get it, but we don't need it necessarily. Alright? So it is kind of unnecessary. It retreats back to all the PTSD bullshit and all that, and it takes too long for Punisher to finally get involved in a plot, for the plot to get going. I know it's supposed to be personal, but we've moved past that long time ago. So yeah, Punisher One Last Kill, I will give this special a 6 out of 10, because how cool of the gore, the action sequence peppered in the last 15 minutes. Aside from that, man, this special was miserable to watch because the character in it is miserable, and therefore it makes the audience miserable because the audience, us, we have seen Punisher go through this trauma a long time ago. Alright? So, my only hope for Frank Castle, just commit to the character of Punisher and let him explore new storylines. Alright? And just maintain that grounded, action-packed, intense, gory tone of the character. And it would be great, you know? Just put him in a team-up movie with Daredevil and Spider-Man. It's chef's kiss, alright? So yeah, if you have seen Punisher One Last Kill, what you think about the special? Do you agree with me about the characterization of Frank Castle? Because to me, it's getting very redundant at this point because Marvel constantly repeats the same storyline over and over and over again for the Punisher. So yeah, and what is your hope for the future for Frank Castle in the MCU, and what kind of storylines that you would like for Frank Castle to explore next after Brand New Day? So 6 out of 10 if you have seen Punisher One Last Kill. Tell me everything, what you think about it. Is it great? Is it gory enough? Is it really depressing to watch? Tell me everything. Drop it in the comment section down below, and see you on the next video.